Between the two of them. The inside of Coates. Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
We are here at the home of British motorsport, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, for what is set to be a very, very exciting championship decider, because it all boils down to these final two 15-minute races. We've had racing all across Europe so far, and we finish it, as we should, really, in the UK. Andy McEwan and Jack Oliphant here in the commentary box to talk you through all of the action. Jack, great to have you back here. Nicely refreshed, I believe, after your weekend, your away, I should say. And I'm sure ready and raring to go for what's always an exciting night of racing. I love a good championship decider.
Oh, absolutely. And you absolutely bang on with the money as well. Being in the UK, being back at the home of British motorsport, home of motorsport in whole, I would say, actually, Silverstone, and doing the full GP layout. It's a proper test for these drivers, and it's lovely to be back. And as I said, very well done to you last week for me, leaving you in the lurch. But I do feel very refreshed. Thank you for saying.
Well, there you go. That's the main thing. Yes, so you missed a week ago some really good racing, actually, around the Bicker-Nicky circuit, and a circuit that we didn't really know what to expect from, honestly. We spent the whole season racing at these big European Formula One circuits, and then we arrived at a Eastern European and what felt like a rally stage, quite frankly. It was a really great little track, though, produced some fantastic racing, and it produced a great night for Kyle Felvers. Kyle Felvers actually had his highest scoring night of the year of the season so far, and he came away as the top point scorer. Eric Axelsen went in there with the championship lead. He left there with an even healthier championship lead, actually, because he managed to outscore his nearest championship rival, Nicky Taylor. Those two, who were the second and third highest scorers a week ago, are the top two in the championship arriving here. And it was really interesting, Jack, watching Eric racing a week ago, because he was really racing like a championship leader. He wasn't really getting fully stuck in. He was doing his best to get some good results, and had a really good result in the first race where he managed to take the win from pole position. But he was very much driving with one eye on the championship points, and I think we'll have to do so again tonight.
Well, that just screams Eric Axelsen, though, doesn't it? Even if he is in the championship fight or not, that is how he drives. And he's not one to throw moves left, right, and centre just for the sake of it. That's a bit more Nicky Taylor's style, I reckon. But it's nice to have him right at the front of the championship, because he's been threatening ever since he's joined about 2 or 3 seasons ago, or 2 or 3 championships, I should say, ago. It's nice to see him really probably where he belongs, he feels. Now he's nicely bedded into the VRRC community.
Indeed, yes, and Eric hoping now to wrap up the title over the course of 2 races here this evening around the iconic Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And as always, before we dive into the live action, we're going to give you a guided tour around this fabulous racetrack.
Welcome everybody to the final round at the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car with Hybrid Championship. We're here for the final track guide of the season at Silverstone. Heading into turn 1, spot the green AstroTurf on the left hand side as the turn-in point. Use all of the curb on the apex and on the exit. Sacrifice the left-hander here as we want to really open up Village. Brake just after the curb on the left hand side here, down into second gear. Hook up the curb on the apex and get it back over to the right hand side for the loop. Sacrificing the entry here, it's all about the exit onto the Wellington straight here. Now up through the gears, this is where drivers are going to be using their hybrid in the race to defend and attack, but in qualifying, no hybrid deployment available to the drivers, so full focus on this braking zone, which comes up a car length before that board on the right hand side, down to second gear. Really hook it through nicely and into Luffield, down to second gear. Keep it quite tight compared to most cars, and then you want to really avoid this AstroTurf on the left hand side on the exit here. Now we're looking towards Cops, take the line of least resistance and prepare yourself for the fastest section of the track. Here we go, down to fourth gear, really send it in, but make sure you can power through the corner, again avoiding the AstroTurf on the exit. We're playing for Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel now. It's all about sacrificing for that run onto the Hanger Straight. Go down into fourth, use all of the curb on the right hand side, and then all of the curb on the left hand side, down into third for Chapel, use all of the curb again and use all of the exit here. Now onto the Hanger Straight, prime overtaking opportunity. We've seen moves from Hamilton, Mansell and many a famous driver into Stowe, and I'm sure we will see many. For now, for the hot lap, it's down 3 gears into third, take a late apex and really avoid this Astro on the left-hand side. Again, setting up the Vale chicane. Going to break in the curb, starts on the right-hand side here, down in second gear. Really hook it into the apex, and then short shifting into third, and open up the exit through club, line of least resistance to the line, and that completes a lap of Silverstone.
So the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit then playing host to these final 2 races of the season, and this is what it all boils down to. In the championship standings, Eric Axelsen, once his dropped score is calculated, arrives here on 256 points, Taylor, his nearest rival, on 233. So what's that? A 23-point cushion for Axelsen. But with 57 points still up for grabs here tonight, Nicky Taylor certainly not out of it, nor is Kyle Felvers either in third position. Those three, realistically, are the three most likely to take the title. And three drivers there, Jack, with, I would say, very different driving styles, very different approaches to the way they go racing. It's going to be really interesting to see how they each handle the pressure of championship night.
Yeah, not only that, we have to take into account that Nicky Taylor and Carl Felvers are teammates as well. And I don't want to stir the pot any more than that's necessary, but they've not been at odds with each other, but there have been discussions previously when the pressure gets to these two drivers. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they handle that one going through tonight. Silverstone's a nice wide circuit. It would be quite fun to see them go 3 wide at some point.
I think you might get your wish, you know. I mean, they managed it a week ago at the narrowest circuit that we've ever raced at, so I'm sure with the wide open spaces of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, they will go for the same again. Don't forget, there's a trophy for finishing anywhere in the top 3 in the championship as well. So Joel Lask, Josh Martin, they're also going to be gunning for a top 3 place. There are the trophies, and that is what everyone is fighting for here this evening. The Driver of the Round award as well will also be handed out. It did go to Nicky Taylor, I seem to recall, a week ago at Bicker Nicky. So let's take a look then, shall we, at how the championship how the qualifying session, I should say, is looking with just under 2 minutes to go. And it's that man again, Jack, Eric Axelsen, at the top of the times. I've named him the qualifying king this season. I think he's well and truly earned that title. 4 pole positions he's had so far this season, and looks like he's well on his way to a 5th.
I mean, that's fair impressive, isn't it? Considering the calibre of driver that he's up against as well, Nicky Taylor, Paul Zanatachi even, who's gone really strong towards the rear end of this season. He's looking a little bit threatening as well. He's actually our broadcaster, Lewis Edwards. We should welcome him to the broadcast team as well, which he's doing a fantastic job on the broadcast. First time doing a competitive stream this is as well. So, yeah, great job by Lewis so far. Hopefully we'll be saying the same come the end of the night, but no pressure, Lewis. He's actually, Paul Zanatachi, though, is Lewis's shout for a bit of a surprise win here at Silverstone's GP. Well, based on his qualifying session, Andy, not that much of a surprise.
I have to say, I wondered what on earth he was talking about when he said that. But yeah, Paul does look rapid here tonight, doesn't he? 3rd fastest at the moment. Kyle Felvers only 4th, but look at that. Josh Martin to the top by 17 thousandths of a second. Josh Martin to provisional pole position. Now, what can Nicky Taylor do as he continues on his way around the lap? Remember, we are using the national start-finish line, I think, aren't we, for this version of the circuit? No, international, excuse me. So, yes, we are on the wing we're based around. So, a lap just completed by Nicky Taylor there with no improvement, but he does have time for one more lap. What an effort from Josh Martin, though. Josh Martin onto the provisional pole position. Trying to look back at what his best qualifying effort of the season is so far. I think it was 3rd back at Spa, but prior to that, Jack, he was struggling to make it into the top half dozen in qualifying. That is some effort.
Yeah, no, it's he's doing properly strong, good pace so far. How is he going to use the hybrid? That's the biggest question. Eric Axelsen has just gone purple sector 1. So we're talking about Josh Martin. It may not be the driver we're talking about come the end of the session. No, it could be our championship leader and championship favourite, Eric Axelsen, of course. But Paul Zanatachi and Carl Felvers and Joel Lask have all gone green in sector 1 on this final lap as well. So we're starting to see some drivers really push the envelope now and see if they can just eke out that little extra advantage amongst their rivals.
Don't forget, pole position for this first race, i.e. fastest driver in this session, earns themselves a championship point as well, so that could also prove significant. And that, I think, is why Eric Axelsen in particular is really pushing hard for this. Heads down the hanger straight then for what will be the final time in this qualifying session. The Swedish assassin heads into the braking zone at Stowe Corner. Really difficult part of the circuit here to get your braking right, get the front end of the hybrid Cupra into the corner. Looks like he scrubs a little bit wide of the apex there, but he carries on with some momentum now, down through the Vale, into the braking zone at Club, through the left, through the right, stay off the sausage curb on the left, because you will certainly unsettle your car if you do that, and then hooks up the second part of Club Corner. He needs to find 18 thousandths of a second to get pole position back. Can he do it? Comes across the finish line, and he does it by 31 thousandths of a second. Axelsen back to pole.
Yeah, Nicky Taylor's gone green in sector 2, though. Sector 1's a little bit down on a rapid Eric Axelsen lap time, so it might not be a pole position for Nicky Taylor, but he's certainly going to be pushing to get on the front row alongside him. He comes across the line, he's not able to do it, and actually he looks a little bit vulnerable in that 3rd position with Paul Zanatachi and Carl Felvers Going nicely, pulls that attach across the line though, doesn't improve. Carl Belvis is the last driver who's likely to cause a little bit of an upset. And the 5th place driver gets a little bit squirrely as he's crossed the line, and he hasn't improved either as Jens Verhoeven, the last of the HTC, last of Carl Belvis' teammates, finishes.
Indeed, so Jens Verhoeven across the line then in 8th place, but a fantastic effort that by Erik Axelsen to manage to snatch that pole position away, get that extra bonus point as well, and he will now be starting from the perfect place to try and take this championship. He already has a healthy points advantage over Nicky Taylor, and now he will be starting 2 positions ahead of Nicky on the grid as well. So that is how they will line up then for the first 15-minute race coming up in a few moments' time, and a fascinating pair of races here tonight in Prospect. Don't forget that the second race is the full reversed grid as well. So and if Eric doesn't wrap it up in race 1, he'll certainly be hoping that he does for race 2. Right, then we're going to take a very short ad break then here from Silverstone. We'll be back with all of the reaction to qualifying in just a few minutes. So, qualifying complete then here at Silverstone as we prepare for the first of our 2 races here, the final round of the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour, and it is that man again, Erik Axelsen, who has got the pole position for the first race, and Erik joins us once again in the commentary box. Erik, I'm running out of questions to ask you after qualifying because this is the 5th time we've spoke in these circumstances this season. Your qualifying pace all season long has been hugely, hugely impressive. It bags you another championship point as well. How are you feeling ahead of the final 2 races of the season?
Well, it feels great with pole. It was really close this time. It was just a few tenths, right? It was really close. So yeah, feels good.
I bet it does. I mean, there was a point there where Josh had beaten you. Were you confident that you had a better lap time in you and that you'd be able to go up there and take the pole position back?
Well, not really. I was on a really fast lap, and then I had a quick look at the timetable, and then I saw Josh first, and then I did a small mistake. So, but I still managed to save it. Yeah. So I had a bad lap going on, but yeah, it was still good enough.
How are the nerves ahead of this first race then? Because I know it would mean a lot to you if you could wrap this up, and you could do it in this first race.
Yeah, that will be my first championship win. So of course, some pressure, but I try to not to think about it and have fun.
Absolutely. I'll stop asking you about it then, Erik. I'll let you go and carry on with your preparations. But best of luck for what is a very, very important race.
Thank you.
Erik Axelsen then on the pole position. Championship leader now by another point as well, of course, over Nicky Taylor. So what was a 23-point advantage now becomes a 24-point advantage as we head into the first of tonight's 2 races. Jack, a difficult position that Erik is in, I think. I mean, some drivers thrive on this, on being in front in the point, starting on pole, having control of their destiny. But some drivers, myself included, can go to pieces in this situation, can't they?
Absolutely, I was one of those drivers as well in the real life, so it is a bit of a pressurized situation. I love the fact that he basically batted off your a question about pressure. You said, okay, I'll let him go, I'll let you go, and then you reiterated how this is a very, very important race for him as well before we jumped away. If he didn't feel the pressure, he certainly does now. But he's a cool customer, as Eric. I'm sure he'll smash it.
Hey, we're here to drum up the drama, aren't we? And I'm sure Eric strikes me as the kind of guy that can take it, I think. So, yeah, going to be really interesting to see how he gets on here. Starting from pole, and for Nicky Taylor, of course, he has to go full attack. He starts third on the grid, really does have to try and beat Axelsen in this race because there are getting on for 30 points between them. Remember, Eric's drop score at the moment is a 30-pointer. So regardless, even if Eric didn't do either of the races here tonight, he would still be guaranteed to score 30 points. So, you know, for Nicky, he's got to go on the attack because Eric is sort of guaranteed a half-decent night, points-wise. Nicky just needs to go out there and make sure he has an exceptional one.
I'm not entirely sure Nicky Taylor knows how to race when he's not trying to be exceptional, if that makes sense. He doesn't know how to be conservative. It's not in his dictionary. That's why he's always one of those drivers where if the race is getting a bit dull, just chuck the camera at Nicky Taylor and I'm sure he'll do something entertaining. Very much hoping he will do tonight. Obviously, we want to keep it clean. Nicky does keep it clean 95% of the time, to be fair to him. But you got to look a little bit further back, actually. Probably one of the drivers that really has to have an extremely successful night is Kyle Felvers, and he's not started the way he would have wanted to either. All the way down in 5th position, behind Paul Zadatechi, who's not involved in the championship, behind Josh Martin, who is in 5th in the championship, but not really involved in the top 3 at all, only personal pride. Not really ideal for Kyle. He's got better with this car, he got better with front wheel drive, and he's looked like getting a little bit better with the racecraft as well. Fingers crossed he can have a nice clean night and potentially even take advantage of some reverse grid shenanigans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that will certainly add to the pressure for someone like Axelsen. If he were to non-finish in this first race, then he still has to start from the back in race 2, but it's a reversed grid race, and that's when things, especially last day of school, can really, really kick off. But you raise a good point there about Kyle Felvers, because though we're talking about Axelsen versus Taylor for the championship, that is a long shot for Nicky Taylor, really, because Axelsen has been so consistent. He's got that drop score thing to fall back on that I mentioned. But Taylor is only 9 points ahead of Kyle Felvers, his teammate, coming into tonight. So the fight for second place in the championship, Jack, I think is highly likely to go down to the wire. And you're absolutely right. Kyle needs to try and get on terms with Nicky early on in this race.
Yeah, and the trophy is only slightly bigger for second compared to third, but it's the little small print that says second instead of third that it just gets on people's nerves if they don't quite get there. You want that number 2 and you want the number 1, but if you can't get that, you want as high as possible, obviously. So I'm sure personal pride will be on the line here. I don't know, but I'm guessing these guys are in a Discord chat amongst themselves in the HFT team. But I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they come in for an interview maybe and they've gone elsewhere. They've muted their mics or deafened their mics to try and focus on their race alone rather than, you know, getting into any kind of team shenanigans or maybe trying to work together, because really there is no working together now for Nicky Taylor and Kyle Felvers. It's an individual championship. There is no team championship, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they sort it out on track.
Rich Hayden apparently is earwigging in the Discord chat and says actually the spirits are pretty high at the moment. There's quite a lot of banter going on. The drivers all enjoying life. They may well be enjoying it now, but in another 60 seconds or so, when we do put those red lights on and get the first race underway, that can all change. But yeah, it is always a bit of an odd situation, that, because they compete against each other week in, week out, not just in this championship, but other series organised by the VRRC. You become very friendly and become out-and-out friends with drivers that you compete against sometimes. But Jack, you've still got to go out there and beat on the track, and that I think it's harder to race somebody that you're friends with and that you get on well with than it is someone who you've never really spoken to, because all of a sudden it matters that little bit more that you keep it clean and keep it respectful.
Yeah, and the VRRC is a very good community for that, isn't it? Everybody sort of mucks in, gets involved, they join the driver coaching sessions and all those sort of things. And as you said, they've been around for a long time. When you have a community that's very big, say you have 100 people in it or something like that, and you have 40 people per race, or numbers along those lines, you might only have 2 or 3 people at the start that you want to talk to because you're racing nice and closely with them. As soon as you accidentally hit one of them off, it's a bit like, oh, I don't know anybody. It's like being the new kid at school again. So it's nice to see that everybody's having good banter in the chat and is sort of pulling together for this last race of the season.
Absolutely, yes, and we are very much ready to go racing, and I think we are now within 30 seconds of getting the start procedure underway. So the green car then is Eric Axelsen, the championship leader, starting from pole position. The other green car, helpfully the green and white one, Josh Martin alongside him, and if their qualifying pace is anything to go by, we could be in for a really close race between the two of them. Remember, all of the drivers have 15 uses of the hybrid button that they can use whenever they like, and lots of different tyre compounds to choose from as well. What is going to happen then? 15 minutes of racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit gets underway, and a demon start from Axelsen from pole position. He will lead them down past the wing and into Abbey Corner for the first time. He's already on the hybrid button, so is Josh Martin behind him in second place. Third place looks as though it's Taylor, but Josh Martin is coming right onto the rear bumper of Axelsen into the braking zone at Village, but Eric had it covered. He turns into the sharp right-hander, still the race leader, with Nicky Taylor already challenging Josh Martin for second.
Yeah, Josh Martin didn't actually get off the line particularly well. His reactions weren't quite there, but his acceleration phase was extremely impressive, helped by the hybrid, of course. Now, Axelsen and Martin, they both used 2 uses of the hybrid straight away. Nicky Taylor saved one of them. I'm sure he was probably hoping to make a move in front of the BRDC with it. Carl Felvers has made up 1 position as well. Support Zanatachi's dropped down the order, and Andy Carroll is looking to overtake Zanatachi around the outside. That's quite incredible if he gets the inside, which he should do. Zanatachi goes a little bit wide. Andy Carroll moving up the positions.
That is a great little Silverstone move, that, isn't it, round the outside of Brooklands to get the inside for Luffield, Woodcote and Copse Corner. You'd think through those 3 corners Carroll would be able to make the move stick, but actually looks as though Zanatachi's coming back, and well, that's Nicky Taylor. Nicky Taylor is sideways. He got himself ahead of Josh Martin, but there is contact between the 2 of them at Copse Corner, and that is a disaster for the championship hopeful. Axelsen leading the way, and Nicky Taylor falling down the order.
Cue the disappointed Christian Horner look as Max Verstappen flies towards the wall. It's a bit of a gutting one, but luckily he's managed to keep it facing the right way and stay in this race. But Nicky Taylor's race is completely changed. His evening is completely changed. He needed to be aggressive before. Now he needs to be efficient because he has to work through Andy Carroll, Joel Last, Paul Zanatachi, and his teammate and championship rival Kyle Felvers if he has any hope of getting a championship at the end of this evening. Well, he's already lining up for Joel Last on the outside. It is Joel Last, not his brother. Last time I was commentating, it was his brother. And through Stowe, I think he's just about not made it, actually. Somehow Joel Last has ended up ahead of Carroll and Taylor, and they lunged themselves at the club corner. That's a little bit of a dodgy move there, potentially. He's all over the inside. Luckily, no contact. Great racing, but all of a sudden, Nicky Taylor's getting his elbows out.
He is. He got into the back of Carroll at Stowe, and that's what delayed Andy. So, yeah, you're right. It looked like Lask would lose a place, but actually managed to gain one Andy Carroll. So 1 dramatic lap in the books already. Axelsen leads by 7/10 over Martin, back into second place. Felvers into a podium place now. And of course, if he's going to try and beat Nicky Taylor for second in the championship, that's good news for him. Taylor sails round the outside of Andy Carroll. That is for 6th position, and now he will chase after Joel Lask and Paul Zanatachi, who are directly ahead of him. I'll say directly ahead of him. Bit of real estate actually to try and bridge before he can get onto the tail of the black number 8 car ahead of him of Joel Lask. Jens Verhoeven moving in to challenge Andy Carroll as well, as the lead gaps also start to come down. The slipstream around here, Jack, I'd imagine, is going to be fairly powerful, and so it's going to be hard here for Axelsen to escape at the front.
Yeah, Andy Carroll finding that drifting is not the most powerful way around a corner, though, and he loses a little bit of time. He has some really good under brakes, but actually now he's lost a little bit of time. Jens Verhoeven looks interested in taking that 7th place away from him. But I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the slipstream around Silverstone in any car is brutally powerful. And here, I thought there was going to be a potential race lead move for Josh Martin. He's forcing Eric Axelsen offline, though. Going into Stowe, I think Kyle Felvers is in one of the best positions on the track right now. And I tell you what, from 5th position, we said he was going to need some kind of miraculous drive. He's having exactly that. He's taking advantage. He's being efficient. He's keeping his nose clean. He's loving life out there.
He is using the hybrid quite heavily. He's back on it again now. He's used it twice more than Axelsen and Martin ahead. But yes, I take your point. He's really rapid. And look, that hybrid will get him alongside Josh Martin, who did not deploy it, interestingly, down the Hanger Straight. So Felvers will be inside for second place, riding on board with Josh Martin as he turns in, tries to get the switch back on the exit. Look at the extra traction that he has from the wide line in. This is now music to the ears of Eric Axelsen, who finally starts to build a small cushion over these two as they battle for second place over the sausage curb. That was close there for Felvers. He's into second place, bit of a block path, but he gets the job done and now has to get his head down. He's back on the hybrid again, this time to try and get away from Martin and Paul Zanatachi, who is attacking for third.
I didn't notice the hybrid. Carl Felvers will be a sitting duck if he's not careful come the end of this race. We've still got 10.5 minutes to go. Carl Felvers has used nearly half of his deployable hybrid systems. Axelsen still has 10, Josh Martin 11, Zanatachi 11, Joel Lask has 12. And don't write him off, because if they start fighting like they are, all of a sudden 5th, 6th and 7th get onto the back of this queue, and then we are in for some fantastic racing, that's for sure. Eric Axelsen, though, you said it was music to his ears. He's loving life right now, and as he goes in front of the BRDC, I'm sure he'll look in his rearview mirrors before he hits the brakes and thinks, you know what, I've probably got a lap here before I really need to start worrying again. Let's just hit the braking zones, let's hit the apex and see what he can do.
Well, he's got over a second now, nearly 1.1 seconds over Felvers in second place. That's got to be getting on breaking the toe. Certainly, there's not much of a slipstream effect from that far back, so Axelsen might now be able to get his head down and escape. And of course, Felvers has used a little bit more hybrid than Eric has as well. Josh Martin, I notice, interestingly, not really using the hybrid at all over the last lap or so. So we saw Felvers go past him down the Hanger Straight on the hybrid, but Josh didn't even bother trying to defend with it. So Josh perhaps playing the long game here, and that, I think, is sensible. So Felvers into second, then Martin third, but Josh Martin, now that he's on the tail of the HFT racing driver, might he try and build an attack going down the Hanger Straight? The other interesting point to mention here, Jack, is that Nicky Taylor's pace is not that good at the moment, is it? He's struggling to catch Joel Lask for 5th place.
Yeah, he's the only driver pretty much. Well, he's in the minority of drivers who haven't improved on Sector 1 on this lap, which means he's not really enjoying life out there. But look at this queue of cars, and as we say that, Josh Martin defending from Paul Zanatachi. Now, they're all using the hybrid, but they are being slightly conservative about it. They're using the slipstream to advantage as well. Nice, calm racing here, but Zanatachi, who, like we mentioned, bit of an outside shout for a potential race victory. Might not get the race victory here, but certainly a podium position is on the cards for him. He's absolutely brilliant tonight, it seems, in terms of his pace. Let's see if his racecraft can match it.
Yet to have a podium. He's had 3 top 5 finishes, a best finish of 4th in the mini enduro at Spa, Zanatachi. So that would be quite the achievement if he could go one better here tonight. Andy Carroll, meanwhile, look, he's coming back at Nicky Taylor now. So Nicky Taylor, I mean, surely the car's not damaged. It wasn't a huge hit that he had from Josh Martin. Just seems to be struggling now that he's dropped back into the pack to get into the rhythm. And that could be because his plan, well, his race is not going to plan, and sometimes that can scramble your head a little bit as a driver. You start overdriving, you start trying to gain all of that time back in one corner, and that's not the way to do it, especially around here, Jack, because it's a real momentum circuit, Silverstone. Lots of long straights. If you start charging into the corners out of frustration, it will kill your speed down the next straight. So I'm not saying that's what's happening to Nicky, but he maybe just needs to take a deep breath, take a step back and think, right, okay, I can still do this, I can still get into the podium places, but only if I just dial things back by a few percent.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is as well, if you start overdriving, there's a lot of medium and high-speed corners around Silverstone. There's only a few real heavy braking zones where you actually get the car below, let's say, 40 miles an hour or so. So if you start overdriving, you start punishing the tyres a little bit too much. And I was going to talk about the tyres because I'm maybe trying to find an excuse for why Nicky Taylor isn't as quick as he should be, potentially. I thought maybe he's on the softs, so maybe the tyres are going off. He went too early or anything like that. But pretty much everybody is on the mediums, so he doesn't even have that as an excuse right now. But you're absolutely right. He might be overdriving, especially sort of through Stowe and through Cox and Abbey, places like that. If you send too much speed through, you will churn the tyres up. But Josh Martin is going up the inside of Carl Felvers into Stowe. Zanatachi goes towards the outside, and as I was talking about tyres and everything, we've got some action out on circuit. I do apologise. Skipping over the apex is Zanatachi. Josh Martin has got himself back into second place.
I don't really understand why they did that. I mean, it's entertaining to watch, I realise, but they just spent a lap working together, these three. They'd caught Axelsen, and then they went side by side through Stowe Corner, yes. So all of the ground they'd gained they instantly lost. Now, okay, Josh Martin is still only 6/10 behind the race leader, but if you're going to work together, at least commit to it until you've caught the guy you're trying to chase after. Anyway, Axelsen leads, 6 minutes to go. Martin second, Felvers third, Zanatachi still right in the hunt for this in 4th place. Has been a bit of a revelation here tonight, has Paul. And again, he hunts around on the inside of Felvers, who is late on the brakes into Village Corner. Axelsen, you feel this is another Eric Axelsen drive. He's measuring himself. He's not pushing any harder than he has to. He doesn't want to run out of left front tyre, which is definitely a concern here tonight around this particular circuit. And you kind of get the feeling that he's just trying to win this one by the smallest margin that he has to.
Yeah, well, he is an assassin at the end of the day. They are cold and calculated, and I'm not saying that Axelsen is cold as a human being, but his driving certainly is cool under pressure, that's for sure. And he likes to do everything. He likes to have his tyres all set up. He likes to know exactly the distance back to the other drivers, preferably probably how many hybrid systems they have in use as well. And to be honest, the reason why I actually almost missed that move between Martin and Felvers is because, like you said, I was so convinced that they would start working together. I wasn't even looking at the race. I was looking at my timing screen because I thought, you know what, there's no chance that they're going to throw away the advantage they've gained on this lap. They haven't thrown it all away, but it's certainly getting a little bit risky. As Andy Carroll tries to go round the outside of Nicky Taylor. Not quite happening, but a fantastic cutback on the cards.
Yeah, Nicky Taylor went really defensive into Cops Corner, and that was always going to be the end result, that Carroll would get better speed off the turn. So Andy Carroll into 6th place, and, well, really, Nicky Taylor's championship aspirations now disappearing completely. He had to beat Axelsen in this race, by my calculations, in order to keep the championship alive, and he is very much not doing that right now. 7th place for Nicky could actually be enough to lose 2nd place in the championship, although Kyle Felvers, who is 3rd in the championship, is no longer 3rd in the race because Paul Zanatachi has broken through into a podium position. He breaks a bit too late for Stowe Corner, but does just about keep his car ahead as they drop down through the Vale and in towards Club. He's into 3rd, and I don't think he's done there. If he can shake off Felvers through the next couple of corners, I don't think Martin is safe in 2nd place, and I'm not even convinced that Axelsen is safe from Zanatachi because Paul is absolutely flying.
Yeah, the pigeons have had a cat thrown amongst them, I think, is the problem here. And Zanatachi is certainly the feline that we're talking about. He's absolutely flying, and he's really racing very well. He's measured that one for quite a few laps. He's let them fight ahead of him and just put them under a little bit of pressure here and there, make them move about, seeing when he can take advantage. But look at that, he's not under a massive amount of pressure into the hairpins here in turns 3 and 4. Zanatachi, he's got some good pace. He's got something underneath him tonight that is just really working for him. Carl Felvers has only got one use of the hybrid left, so he's not really going to be a driver that we're going to be looking at to potentially get a podium. It is, as you mentioned, Andy, about Martin versus Zanatachi.
I think so. Ooh, bit of a lock-up there, though, from Paul. Needs to just calm things down. He is catching Martin, and he's not doing it just down the straights either. He took a big chunk out of Josh through the village and loop sequence. He's much, much neater through Luffield as well. So Zanatachi looks like he's driving better. Maybe he's looked after the tyres better as well. And he's still got just over 3 minutes left to do this then. He can certainly get 2nd place. Might even be able to go up there and challenge Eric Axelsen, who you'd imagine would not defend too much from Paul Zanatachi. Eric will have done the maths. He'll know that he doesn't have to win this race in order to be the champion. So if Paul Zanatachi does arrive on his rear bumper in a hurry, then it would probably be in Eric's best interest to not fight him too hard. But getting ahead of myself slightly, Paul's got to find a way past Josh Martin first, and that traditionally, Jack, has not been an easy thing to do.
No, especially if you start getting sideways through some twisty corners, that's for sure. And through Church there, it looked like Zanatachi was getting a little bit sideways, maybe just taking too much speed through. Seems to have got away with it slightly, though, as Josh Martin didn't get the best run himself. Hello, look at Joel Lask in the background, though. Carl Felvers, he's not only lost one place to Zanatachi, he's about to lose another one. And all of a sudden, Nicky Taylor's probably looking at this and rubbing his hands with glee. Okay, they got Andy Carroll to get through, but his teammate is under an enormous amount of pressure, so much they're actually making contact. And all of a sudden, Joel Lask throws one at the inside, not wasting any time. He catches up to Carl Felvers, and he already tries to put the move on. Felvers trying to muscle his way back into that 4th place. He's not going to give it up without a fight, that's for sure. But Lask is certainly a danger right now.
This will end in tears, I guarantee, especially if Andy Carroll makes it 3 wide into Abbey, which he has. He's on the inside of both of them. Don't turn in, Kyle. He did turn in, and he's managed to hang on to the place somehow, or has he? Drifts out wide, and now Andy Carroll is there as well. Over the curb goes Felvers. Nicky Taylor rubbing his hands with glee because he's already taken half a second out of these 3 in just the last couple of corners alone. Felvers retains 4th, Carroll 5th, and Joel Lask down to 6th place, but he's back on the inside of Andy as they go through the loop for what will be the final time of this race. The lead gap is creeping back down on this lap as well, but this battle for 4th is not over. Lask up the inside of Carroll. He's back into 5th, and Nicky Taylor is almost on them.
Yeah, Nicky has got to be thinking he can go aggressive here, but he doesn't need to rush. I think they might have this lap, maybe one more if they can get to it, although a minute to go before they get across the line. I think maybe this will be the last lap, actually. So Nicky will be desperately trying to catch up to the back, but that won't be too hard. He's already on there because these guys are holding each other up so much. Carl Felvis, he's under an enormous amount of pressure as they go through Woodcut. You got to feel that as they go through Copse and go towards Stowe, it's going to be a lot of problems. Oh, Josh Martin's got into the race lead. Apologies, the green car's getting me mixed up. Eric Axelsen slips down to second.
Didn't just get the lead, but with an outrageous overtake around the outside at Copse Corner. He would not have done that if it was anyone other than Eric Axelsen he was racing. He knew that Eric would keep it clean, but was that the move to make? Because now Eric will have the slipstream down the Hanger Straight, and the man we're riding on board with Paul Zanatachi will have a double slipstream. He's got a grandstand view of it right now. They're all on the hybrid for the final time down towards Stowe Corner. How hard is Axelsen going to fight this then? He's closing in. He's just a 10.5 behind. Sweeps to the outside line. Martin defends in the middle of the road. As long as he doesn't go too wide on the exit, though, I think he might just have done this. Down towards the Vale we go for the last time. Josh Martin the leader, Axelsen second. Zanatachi is well off the road as they drop down into the Vale for the last time. And Josh Martin now is just a couple of corners away from claiming a fabulous race victory. What would be his first of the season. And what a way to do it. What a race, what a move, and what a drive from Josh Martin, who wins the first race here on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Eric Axelsen, though, in second place. I reckon that might be enough now for him to be provisionally at least crowned the champion, with Paul Zanatachi claiming his first podium of the season ahead of Felvis 4th, Lask 5th, Carroll 6th. He did keep Nicky Taylor behind him to the line. Nicky a disappointing 7th there. Jens Verhoeven in 8th, and then Reese Bell in, well, not 9th place, because Mark Hughes gets a lovely switchback move on him at the final corner and claims 9th place on the line. What a finish that was, Jack. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that race had absolutely everything. This is why Silverstone GP is so popular. It just produces that kind of excitement week in, week out. Right, we're going to go to a very quick ad break, and then we'll be back to talk to our podium drivers from race number 1.
Well, the penultimate round of the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour absolutely delivered all of the action we expected, and quite a bit more, actually, with the lead battle going right down to the final lap, and a fantastic first victory of the season going to Josh Martin. And Josh, along with the other joins us now in the commentary box. Josh, thank you very much for joining us. What a race. What a move. I mean, I think I said at the time that you probably wouldn't have done that against many drivers, but you know when you're racing someone like Eric that you can sort of pull those moves off. But still, what an incredible move it was around the outside at Copse.
Yeah, there isn't many other people I'd have tried to stick in there with, but yeah, it was mega. I had that extra hybrid to Eric going on the last lap, which really helped, which I didn't know about at the time. When I pressed it then going down the old start finish straight, and I could see I was gaining, it was like, oh, could be on for it here. But yeah, I want to say as well that sorry to Nicky at the start. I didn't know if maybe he broke a bit early and I went in the back of him, or I just misjudged it a little bit. But it's the smallest of taps.
Yeah, we did see that. I mean, it was a very small tap at a very fast part of the circuit. But you guys are in a bit of a difficult position because you're not a championship contender coming into this final round, and yet you're still out there trying to get good results for yourself. So how do you go about racing people like Eric and Nicky and Kyle when you know that a bad result for them could really ruin their whole championship campaign?
Yeah, it's such a small tap, and in one sense, kind of makes you feel a little bit bad for it, even though I'm still not 100% sure why I tapped him, but yeah, I think he had to win, and Eric had to have a bad race for him to win the championship, I believe. Anyway, so I hope it didn't affect too much.
No, I don't think it did points wise. Anyway, that's for sure. But Josh, fantastic race victory. What can you do now when the gloves are properly off in the reverse grid race? You'll be starting right at the back, of course.
Hey, P1. I think anything could happen around Silverstone. I think it's not an easy track to overtake on, but a lot easier than last week. So, yeah, try and get to the front.
Awesome. Well, Josh, congratulations on the victory. Best of luck for race 2, and thank you for putting on quite a good show for us there.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
So, Josh Martin, then the race winner, and Jack can catch up with, our runner-up finisher in the race, and possibly our provisional champion. Oh, Jack has perhaps...
I do apologise.
I do
apologise. I'm back. Yeah, I'm going to say a provisional congratulations to Eric for a potential championship winning race there. But let's just focus on the race, because I'm sure we'll chat to you after race 2 as well. I mean, talk us through that one, because for a long time, you didn't really have that much pressure. Then all of a sudden, on that final lap, everything was thrown at you.
Yeah, that was from nowhere. And the guys behind me, they were really fast. They were battling a lot, but still keeping up with me. So yeah, I'm really happy with P2. It was a great overtake by Josh there on the outside. It was a great race.
It was indeed. It kept us very much entertained. Now, I'm going to end the interview there. It seems a bit short, Eric, but that's because I suspect we'll be chatting to you after race 2 when there's a little bit more time.
All good. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, and it gives us just enough time, I think, to have a word with Paul Zanatachi, who has just taken his first podium finish in the championship, and you were on it through the whole race. How confident were you that that podium was on the cards?
Well, the way this season's gone for me, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I seem to have a bit of pace. I think you guys have commented already. Kind of just got faster as the season's gone on, and finally managed to put a bit of practice in properly for this one, and sort of it shows in the results. So I do think some of the guys are suffering with the ballast though, especially the tyres at the end. I think I definitely, through Maggots and Beckett's, was holding a better line than the guys in front. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, you drove superbly well, Paul, that is for sure, and we hope you can do so again in race 2. Best of luck.
Cool. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
So Paul Zanatachi, third place there. Eric Axelson very happy with his second place. And Josh Martin, a very, very happy race winner as well. Now, what can they do in the reverse grid race? Because we're less than a minute away from getting the lights on. And of course, as always, it is a full reversed grid. So Kenny Press, who was the last car home in race 1, will have the pole position here for race number 2. Alongside him will be John Jones, with Reece Bell and Mark Hughes on row 2, Jens Verhoeven and Nicky Taylor on the third row. And of course, Taylor and Felvers now in this really close battle for second place in the championship. We'll dissect all of that though once the race gets underway, which is in any moment now, because the red lights are on. They will go out now. We're away and racing for the final time this season then, and Kenny Press tries to launch the Cupra off the line. Interestingly, doesn't go for the hybrid, but his two nearest rivals do, John Jones and Reece Bell, but Press will not quite fend them off. Actually, no, Jones goes through to the lead, Press slots into second place, and Reece Bell with Nicky Taylor already on his toes in fourth place. Nicky for a race win now surely has to be a decent shout, but he's got to try and survive these first few corners. Through the loop they go. Last got the inside, almost a bit of contact with a couple of HFT racing drivers actually, but it looks like, Jack, they've all got through there in more or less one piece.
It's a bit difficult to dissect who is actually the HFT drivers, isn't it? As Joel Last gets a big hit from Salvers, and then there's a little bit with Mark Hughes as well. Somehow they're all facing the right way, and as they hit the brakes, hopefully they carry on into the corner without too much problems as well. Joel Last and the number 7 of Carl Felvers, who's getting his elbows out shoulders out, hips out, and everything to try and make his way through the order at the moment, because he's trying to chase his teammate Nicky Taylor, who's gotten himself into second place just behind John Jones. And I think everybody will know that Nicky Taylor's probably got a little bit of pace on John Jones. Even John Jones will probably admit that one. So Felvers needs to really work hard to get past Kenny Preston. He's doing exactly that as they go into Copse Corner, but Nicky Taylor's on the inside of Jones, and Nicky Taylor takes the race lead.
No, Taylor to the front, but Felvers is up to third already. What form Kyle Felvers has here tonight at Silverstone. He's challenging for second, actually, as they go for Maggots and Beckett, and he's gone through. Felvers into second place with an absolutely brilliant move at one of the fastest and most difficult parts of the circuit. Andy Carroll, though, I'm afraid, appears to have tangled with Jens Verhoeven at the back of the field. They're both digging themselves out of the Beckett's gravel trap, and there you can see Eric Axelsson dicing away with Paul Zanatachi, but Taylor versus Felvers for the race win and for second in the championship. The points page on the website tells me that Kyle Felvers is 11 points behind Nicky Taylor coming into this race for second place in the championship. So Felvers needs to win and hope that something a bit like this really happens to Nicky Taylor.
Yeah, shame for Mark Hughes that one. He was doing quite well at the front, but he was getting beaten up a little bit in that mid-pack, and now he'll be well down the order. Oh, as we have another spinner, Kenny Press, another driver who was trying to take advantage of a reverse grid, not being able to survive the first lap, unfortunately. Almost got there. Reece Bell on John Jones now, as the two HFT championship rivals are now within 3/10 of each other. Nicky Taylor and Kyle Felvers. Reece Bell makes it a HFT 1-2-3 into third place ahead of Jones.
Indeed he does. Up the inside goes Josh Martin. Now the arrival of people like Martin and Lask and Axelsson into the lead fight is exactly what Kyle Felvers needs, really, although Martin might not get there if he gets assaulted by any more drivers like that. Reece Bell into the back of him, and now Joel Lask tangling with John Jones. Where did Jones go? He's cut through Aintree. Has he rejoined? Yes, he has, at the back of the group. So actually did well to save that there, did John, and not go around completely. But that puts Martin third now, Reece Bell fourth, and here comes Eric Axelsson up the inside for fifth position there. Eric with very little to lose now. He's pretty much got the championship wrapped up. As long as he doesn't get a whopping great penalty, which I don't think is really in his style at all, then he can just go out there and have some fun in this race, and he's already clawing his way through the field nicely.
He is indeed. Eric Axelsson now trying to get up the inside through Woodcut. Really nice exit from Luffield, and going into Copse, he will be probably into fourth place, and indeed he is, yes. So I know this is sim racing, Andy, but this reeks of proper touring car action, doesn't it? There's plenty of hip and shoulders, there's plenty of little lunges up the inside, and Reece Bell is trying to show one of those little lunges. He's not going to quite make it, but yeah, this really does, it feels very real, shall we say, to the true TCR experience.
The last race of any Tin Top Championship for the season is always a highlight of that season, because a lot of the drivers really don't care anymore. They don't care if they upset the drivers they're racing with, because they're not going to be racing with them again for a little while. So they hope that by the time they next share a grid, then all has been forgotten and forgiven. But this is a real grudge match between Taylor and Felvers. Taylor holding on to the lead at the moment. Kyle Felvers, though, knows he needs to get ahead of him, and then I guess try and back him up into the rest of the field if he is to finish second place in the championship. Reece Bell there dropping down the inside of Joel Lask into Club, and takes away fifth position from him. But we've now got four of the quickest drivers in the field filling out the top four positions. They come through at the end of lap 2. Taylor the leader, Felvers on his tail in second place, Josh Martin in third position, and the gap between Felvers and Martin 2.3 seconds. But the pace we saw from Martin and Axelsson in race 1, Jack, I think they could get there.
Yeah, I didn't really give him much of a shout over the opening lap, but now they're through and away, there is that potential, especially if Taylor and Felvers start fighting with each other, and they are teammates, they might think about working together, but I just don't see it, particularly in this race. Reece Bell and Joel Lask going nicely alongside each other yet again. Lask getting good momentum around the outside, all going to make it 3 wide. I'm not entirely sure that's advisable, and I don't think Zanatachi really did either. I don't think he really wanted to do that, and that's why he skipped across the apex. But Lask gets ahead. But how much longer though? Reece Bell in front of the VRRC grandstand goes late on the brakes. Lask clutching on, praying for dear life that the right front tyre just grips enough for him to try and carry some momentum. It does indeed. He gets to the apex, and it's a very wide Reece Bell. Paul Zanatachi flies to the inside as well.
Yes, indeed. Respell inventing his own line through Luffield there, and not a particularly quick one because Zanatachi did manage to steal 6th place away from him. There you can see Class B, if you like, those who have had issues earlier on, Verhoeven and Carroll and Kenny Press and Mark Hughes, as Zanatachi goes up the inside of Joel Lask now, and he breaks through into the top 5. Meanwhile, the leading HFT drivers heading through Maggots and Beckett's. Now, we haven't seen a lot of them. I wouldn't mind following them for a couple of corners, just particularly down the Hanger Straight, actually, to see whether they're working together. Is Felvers just sitting behind Nicky Taylor, or is he going to try and get past him? If he's going to try and get through, this is where we'll find out.
I can't imagine there's any reason for them to work together now. I know, yeah, they want to take an HFT victory, but really, the championship's gone from Axelson. Josh Martin's not a realistic threat. The only thing they can fight about is the fact that one of them finishes second, one of them finishes first. Third even in the championship. So I'm slightly perplexed when Clive Felvers went to the outside at Stowe when there was that move up the inside. I mean, maybe it's just brewing. Maybe it'll crescendo on the final lap. But yeah, to me, there's not much of an advantage to work together.
No, I mean, they do talk the talk about working together, don't they, at HFT? They always say that they have this plan, that they're not going to race each other at the start of the race and whatnot, but we're ticking towards half-race distance now. They're being caught anyway by Martin and Axelson, and I think that Felvers might be the quicker of the two, so at least try and get him in front, maybe. Maybe he can drag Nicky Taylor away from those two behind him, or is he just content to sit there until the last lap? I don't know. Either way, I think this will become a four-way fight for the lead, because Martin and Axelson are taking chunks out of the advantage for these two, almost corner by corner. They're gaining tenths of a second at a time over these two, and they are not using, well, actually, they are using a bit of hybrid, aren't they? Axelson down to 6 hybrid uses now. Nicky Taylor, the race leader, only on 11. That's another sign to me, Jack, that he knows Felvers isn't going to attack him.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And but if they did use your suggestion, and Carl Felvers suggested, oh, let me go in front, I might be a little bit quicker, I can't imagine Nicky Taylor would be up for that, considering he's the one who's second in the championship. Again, that sort of might cause a little bit of friction, might cause a little bit of tension towards the end of this race. But one thing is for sure, 7 minutes left. Josh Martin's just caught 0.4 of a second over 1 lap. It's not going to be long until it's at least, I mean, I'd probably give it the end of this lap before it's a 3-way battle for first place. And that just opens the door up for Eric Axelson to come in and join in on all the fun, especially if Carl Felvers goes a little bit wide through Maggots and Beckett's there, and they run onto the Hanger Straight. The gap is anything opening up, actually, isn't it? So Nicky Taylor on the hybrid now to maybe try and take advantage of that.
Yeah, that was a definite mistake, that, from Felvers, because he was so close to Nicky going into Maggots and Beckett's. I think he missed his apex going through the middle part of that sequence of corners and just drifted out wide. But now Nicky Taylor makes a mistake as well. So they're both making mistakes. It's a really bizarre race, this, between the two of them, because it looks like they're working together, and yet it also looks like they're both on the absolute ragged edge. So we'll find out from them hopefully after the race. Felvers there taking a really tight line through the left-hand part of Club, trying to carry good speed out past the wing, but Josh Martin in third, less than a second adrift of them now. Eric Axelson, interestingly, 2 seconds behind him, so Eric perhaps is content just to bring this one home in 4th position, and might well be that Josh Martin is going to try and go for the double race victory here. I think he's got the pace to do it, and by the time they get halfway around this lap, he's going to be right within striking range.
He is indeed, isn't he? And that gets a little bit of pressure put onto the two drivers ahead. 6 minutes to go, and just before things start to boil over, big thank you to those of you who are in the YouTube chat who are getting involved as well. Adrian Felvers, who's always tuning in whenever Kyle races, saying a good race for race 1, make race 2 yours. Well, he's certainly trying, Adrian. And X2J Dave said, well, it's a big supporter of Josh Martin. He's hoping, well, me and the boys waiting for the Josh Martin double win. It's not beyond the realms of possibility at this point, let's say that.
No, I wouldn't bet against it at all, because Josh looks like maybe the quickest driver in this race. I'm intrigued as to why Axelson's dropped back. Like I say, perhaps just doesn't want to get too stuck in, but we saw in the second half of race 1 that Martin had saved the hybrid. He clearly saved his tyres pretty well and really was very strong. This lap, though, the HFT drivers working together a little bit better and are starting to gap him. Carroll here at the inside of John Jones. This is for 8th position as they head towards Kopp's corner. Jens Verhoeven in behind trying to take advantage of this. He should have a better exit from Kopp's because those two go in both on slightly compromised lines, and indeed he does, and tries to get alongside John Jones but won't do it on the relatively short run down into Maggot's corner. So Bell goes to 7th, Carroll 8th, and Carroll is off out wide going through Beckett's. And now this is going to be Verhoeven's opportunity and John Jones's opportunity, surely, to get up the inside of him. Meanwhile, in HFT land, suddenly the plan is starting to work a bit better, isn't it? They're getting away from Martin. They're most definitely not racing each other at the moment, these two. And this is much more like it.
Yeah, no, it's Josh Martin just dropping off a couple of tenths there, so maybe they are working together and working together nicely. Even if it is just the end of the season, they finally get it together. John Jones fires himself, well, not fire himself wide, that's probably unfair, but he does go wide through Stowe after a little bit of contact on the apex with Jens Verhoeven. John Jones defends on the inside for the chicane, and Jens Verhoeven throwing everything at him to try and get a pass, including a nice switch through up the inside. Going through the final corner, he gets the apex without hitting the sausage curve, and he'll get that position.
That was a lovely move. Textbook switchback manoeuvre that through the club complex. Nicely done. Right, leaders coming through the loop. Josh Martin just starting to close in on them again slightly. How does the hybrid situation look? Well, pretty good for Josh, actually. They're all about the same, aren't they? All on 4 uses of the hybrid left. Remember, that's a 10-second extra surge of hybrid power that you get with a 2-second cool off. So when that little icon changes from orange to blue, then they're on the cool off period, and then when it's green, it's free to be used again. So they're all on equal hybrid. Martin perhaps has used his tyres a bit harder, trying to close in, but he still continues to take a little bit of time out of them on this lap. It's going to be a fascinating final, I reckon, lap and a half this. When, if ever, will Felvers attack Nicky Taylor? And if he doesn't, it's going to be very difficult for Josh Martin to break past both of them, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they're trying to wait to the last minute, because they don't want Josh Martin to ruin the party, shall we say. But they are going to have to start thinking about it, especially Carl Felvers. When does he do it? Has he sat behind Nicky Taylor for long enough to sort of have an idea of where he might be quicker, where he's better with the brakes? Or is he sat there thinking, I might have to get a little bit desperate on the brakes here, because Nicky, I know, is going to be the last of the late breakers. It's going to be interesting, this one, because we know that Nicky doesn't give anything up without a fight, but Kyle also is a little bit gung-ho sometimes, so it could crescendo into a Josh Martin victory without Josh having to do anything. But hopefully everybody keeps it nice and clean. Paul's out of touch. We had a very quick word with him. It was a shame that we didn't get longer, actually, but he's fighting potential championship winner Eric Axelsen for 4th place at the moment. We haven't seen too much of these two drivers in this particular race, but they are both scoring solid points and having a good race by the looks of it between them.
Yeah, they are. Axelsen, like I say, this mystifying drop in pace midway through the race, but he's still hanging on to 4th. Zanatachi, though, doing what he did in race 1 and coming on really strong in the latter part of the race. They're about to come through to start what I think should be the final lap of the race. I reckon well, it's going to be tight, actually, isn't it? They might just squeeze that. No, 209s. No, so this will be the final lap then. So 2 hybrid uses apiece for the 2 leaders. Josh Martin, interestingly, has saved one again compared to the 2 ahead. Axelsen and Zanatachi have saved 2 hybrids as well. In fact, they all seem to have done a better job this time, Jack, of keeping some hybrid in their pocket for the last lap.
Yeah, weirdly, although we were just saying every tin top race is normally a little bit frantic at the end of the season, they've, if anything, been a little bit more conservative in this race. They've been smarter with the racecraft, they've been smarter with the distribution of the hybrid system. It's like all of a sudden everything's just clicked with them. But here we go, here's a race lead move potentially. Nicky Taylor goes defensive. Carl Felvers is starting to get his elbows out, isn't it? Josh Martin rubbing his hands together. Andy, this is going to be a frantic last half of the lap.
My money's on Martin. I'm telling you, he's good on these final laps. He always seems to have a bit of rubber left underneath his car, and he's closing in now as these two do battle. Taylor sees off that particular challenge from Kyle Felvers, but that is far from the last overtaking opportunity around this circuit. A nice slipstream there through Woodcote Corner. Felvers alongside Taylor again. He's on the outside line through Copse Corner. Josh Martin is right there with them as well now. It's a 3-way fight for the victory with half a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit to go. Nicky Taylor leading the way. Felvers tucked in behind him as they head towards Beckett's for the last time. They stay single file for the time being. It will all come down to the run off this sequence of corners and down the hanger straight, where maybe Josh Martin in 3rd with a double slipstream might just be able to get there. Felvers is out of hybrid. Nicky Taylor on the hybrid for the last time as well now. So is Josh Martin. Down the hanger straight they go. Felvers closing in. 2 tenths is the gap. A 1.5 is the gap. I think he lifted there at the end of the straight. He was no longer catching Nicky Taylor. Was that Kyle Felvers admitting defeat, or is he going to try and have one last stab at this on the run down into Club Corner? Nicky Taylor thinks the attack is coming because he pulls to the inside line to defend. Felvers to the outside, breaks early. Is that Felvers has braked, that Taylor's braked too late? I think it was. He goes in a bit deep. Not the inside goes Josh Martin as well, and that will hand the victory to Nikki Taylor. It's a drag race to the line for second, but Nikki Taylor will win the final round of the championship here at Silverstone. Kyle Felvers in second, Josh Martin third, and Paul Zanatachi wraps up his best night of the season by far with a podium in race 1 and a 4th in race 2. The champion, Eric Axelsen, is in 5th position, ahead of Joel Lask, Andy Carroll, Jens Verhoeven and John Jones, because Reese Bell had a moment on the final lap. But Nikki Taylor defended that beautifully there, Jack. That was a really well-earned win.
Yep, I'll hold my hands up for 2 reasons. One, that was brilliant racing on the final lap, and we were wondering whether it would ever come. And 2, I'm very glad you were the one who covered it, Andy, because you sound out of breath, and I think I'd be absolutely on the floor after that one. It was really fantastic, and luckily we'll be able to have a chat to a couple of our drivers once we have a little bit of a digest on that one. It wasn't quite a Josh Martin double victory, but he certainly showed very good pace, and the HFT boys really did light the screen up towards the end. It was brilliant to watch. Hopefully everybody in the YouTube chat enjoyed it as well.
I think they did already, getting some good messages coming in from the viewers at home who enjoyed that show just as much as we did. And we can now talk to our race winner then. Nikki Taylor joins us in the commentary box. Nikki, huge congratulations. That is exactly how you wanted to round off your championship campaign. It's not quite enough to take the title, but another race victory and in really tough circumstances. You've got to be happy with that.
That race was with utter aggression, because I was so annoyed after the first race. But I won't go through that. There will be a penalty applied, and if there's not, then I'll be surprised. But anyway, moving past that, second to last championship ever with VRRC. Like, I think second or third in the championship, so can't be too displeased. But yeah, just a pretty bad night, to be fair.
A bad night, yes, but the best drivers are the ones who are able to put that behind them and come out fighting as you did. And that second race, there must have been a part of you that enjoyed that. We were intrigued, though, as to what the strategy was there between you and Kyle, because it looked like you were working together for much of that race. Was that the case?
Yeah, to be fair, we literally just went straight through, and when we were behind each other, we were like, we're both near the front of the championship anyway, so we just push away and hope no one catches us and see how it goes. But yeah, no, we always had the plan to do that, and yeah, to be fair, the season's been all right for me. But yeah, obviously this is going to be my second to last. My Masters will be the last championship I'm doing with VRRC, so a bit of a sad ending. Tried to get my 4th championship, but it didn't happen. And at the end of the day, I'm not really going to be trying too hard for the championship in Masters, just trying to have fun with it. But yeah, just a bit annoying, really.
Oh, it's unfortunate that things didn't quite work out for you tonight, Nikki, but we are very glad that we'll get you back for one last crack at it in the MX-5s, and I'm sure you will come out fighting for that one as well. Nikki, been a pleasure watching you all season, and I think you probably have done enough for second in the championship. We'll confirm that in a moment or two, so not bad going at all.
Yeah, cool. Cheers.
Nikki Taylor then gets the race victory in that one, just about fending off the challengers behind him, and Jack can catch up now with our race runner-up.
Yeah, Kyle Felvers, I believe it was, but only just, wasn't it? Were you looking in your rearview mirrors through most of that race, just wondering when Josh Martin would catch? Were you trying to time the moves on Nikki Taylor to try and make sure he wasn't going to be too close?
Yeah, I think mainly I was just shouting at Nikki, telling him to hurry up because I could see Josh closing in every lap.
Did it not occur to you to maybe, I know your teammates, but try and get past Nikki a little bit earlier and then try and gap both of them and leave Nikki to defend on Josh? Because you were championship 2nd and 3rd, so there was a lot to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I did think about getting past Nikki, but I knew Nikki would want to fight, and I think it would have been just how it was with me behind Nikki, so I think it would have stayed like that.
Yeah, well, you're probably not wrong. It would have given us something to get off our seat about, but luckily you did start to ignite on that final lap of the race. Were you a little bit worried, obviously, as you came into those final couple of corners? Josh Martin really did send one up your inside.
Yeah, I mean, it was a move that wasn't really there, so it would have been amazing if he made it, but like I say, it wasn't really there, so it didn't work.
Well, we do love a good pot being stirred here at VRRC. Thank you very much, Carl, for jumping in. Congratulations on the 2nd place, and we'll be able to confirm your finishing place when we bring up the championship results in a couple of minutes' time.
Thanks, Jack.
Right then, let's talk to Josh Martin, shall we? Because he's always pretty happy when he's on the podium, and he is back on the podium again after a fantastic charge through the field there, Josh. Not quite the double race win, which does at least mean that you're spared the double shoey that your fans were cheering for during that race, but a strong night for you nonetheless.
Yeah, not quite the P1. I could see him bump drafting up in front of me, and I was pushing so hard to try and catch up. But they just wouldn't battle. I'm driving along going, come on, battle, battle, battle. But they wouldn't. They were working together in there and pushing away. So I was catching, but needed another lap.
Yeah, another lap there. But I've noticed this from you all season long, actually, that you seem very good at conserving a little bit for the end of the race. So the amount of times this year where we've seen you make these last lap charges, you've got an extra bit of hybrid, your tyres seem to be working a bit better. Is that something that you've sort of consciously worked on over the season to make sure that you've got the pace in the final couple of laps as well as the first sort of 12 minutes or so?
Yeah, I always aim to try and have a hybrid advantage by the end. Obviously, I very rarely know what the others are on around me. But I try and it's generally in the first half of the race when a lot of people seem to burn a lot more up than I do. So I almost try and restrict myself to a certain amount of lap, depending how long the lap is, and it seems to work out quite well.
Well, it certainly did. You got yourself another podium, another good haul of points, and we think, again, we'll get this confirmed in a few minutes, but I think you've moved ahead of Joel Lask for fourth in the championship. So you don't get a trophy for that, but you do at least get an extra position higher on the championship table. In fact, you might even be tied on points. It's very, very tight between the two of you. We're going to see you back for the MX5 championship next time out, where perhaps you can go up there and challenge for a championship.
Yeah, I'll be back. I've never done a VRRC in a rear-wheel drive car, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'm going to be any good or not, but hopefully I'll be back at the front, because I feel my sim driving's really progressed the last second half of this championship, especially. Just qualifying is my bit of a letdown. I need to work on getting a good lap in, which I've got a pretty good lap in today. Yeah, if I can work on my qualifying, I think we'll be somewhere there for next championship.
Well, the good thing about MX5 racing is you don't really need to qualify well, because they slipstream rather nicely, and we're giving you hybrid, and we're giving you lots of different tyre compounds. So I think you'll probably be able to work your way through from lowly grid positions. But great to hear you'll be out there, Josh, and congratulations on a really strong end to the season here tonight.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Josh Martin then gets himself on the podium for the final race of the season, Jack. A bit sad, really, that we're at the end of what has been a cracking season. I have to say, none of us really knew what to expect at the start of the season, did we? From these hybrid touring cars, the different tyre compounds introduced for the first time, this slightly longer calendar that we had as well, the introduction of the pit stop races. Really think it's all worked very well. I've been thoroughly impressed with the racing that we've had, certainly.
Yeah, and I think VRRC and the championship runners have decided that it's worked quite well as well, because we are, of course, moving the hybrid over to the MX5 to make it a little bit more interesting. And the MX5 car itself is a very accessible machine, but now we stuck the hybrid on it and stuck some different tyres and all this sort of thing, just to give it a little extra spice, a little bit of an extra challenge. But we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes' time, of course. One big shout out, Paul Zanatachi unanimously got our driver of the round vote as well for this particular round, and I think everybody in the YouTube chat can probably thoroughly understand that. And we got one more interview to do. We've already spoken to him twice so far today, but this time we can say it with confidence that we are having a chat to our championship winner, Eric Axelson. Big congratulations. You must have a massive smile on your face.
Yeah, it feels great. It feels great. I don't know what to say. Det känns för jävla bra. A part of my
I'll say something for you, Eric. Well done, mate. Well, congratulations on your first championship, and well deserved, because you've driven fantastically, and you're a fantastic driver and a gentleman as well, mate. Well done.
Thank you, Rich. That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, does that mean, are you already sort of planning where that trophy is going to go, Eric? Have you already started thinking, I've got to clear a little space above the fireplace to try and maybe get that up there so everybody can see it when they walk through the door?
Yeah, we'll see. I find a good spot for it. If I'm allowed to have it.
As long as it's not in your downstairs toilet, Eric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll find a good spot.
Good stuff. And obviously the big question on everybody's lips, it won't quite be a defense of the championship because we're changing to a different car, but are we going to see you back in an MX-5 next time round?
I'm signed up, and I'm looking forward to the MX-5. Rear wheel drive car. It's gonna be fun.
Fantastic. Well, that's absolutely brilliant news to hear, Eric. A big congratulations. Just touched on that second race for the final sort of couple of minutes. You had a little bit of, was it just you cooling down and making sure you finished and you ended the season well, because you seemed to drop the pace just a touch, so you weren't quite involved in that fight at the end?
No, I wasn't. I was actually struggling with the pace, and I couldn't keep up with the front guys, and then I had Paul behind me, and he'd been so fast in practice and quality on the race, so there wasn't much I could do to defend. So.
Well, look, let's just forget about race 2 then, because you have champion next to your name and there will be a big trophy on its way. So massive congratulations, Eric. Hopefully we'll be speaking to you maybe on the first round of the MX-5 championship.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks for organizing. It's been great.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Eric. Brilliant stuff. So, Andy, I think there's probably... Well, we've already heard a little bit from Rich, but maybe we can have a very quick chat to VRRC's own Rich Hayden.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, Jack. Rich Hayden, as you probably heard there, has joined us in the chat to lend his congratulations to our champion, Eric Axelsson. And Rich, I'll be honest with you now, because I can be now, the season's over. But when I heard the plans for this, new touring car championship, I thought, well, hybrid and different tyre compounds, and we're shaking the format up as well. Rich has finally lost it, but actually, what a good idea it was. This has been, I think, the most fun that I've had covering a VRRC championship, and I think you've enjoyed it as well, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. It was one of those spark idea moments that I just thought, okay, guys, we can't just keep repeating the same thing, championship in, championship out. So, so we just decided to play around with the Cooper and give it a slightly bigger turbo, hybrid, 3 tyre compounds, as you said, and also putting in the 2 40-minute races, which has been quite popular. So very pleased with how it's gone, and as exactly as you said, it's given us some really good racing, right?
Yeah, certainly. It's introduced a much more tactical element to the racing, which I certainly really enjoy. And the great news is that, as Jack said, we're going to continue to enjoy this now into our next series with the MX-5s. What can you tell us about that? We've already been teasing it a little bit over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we've breathed a little bit of fire, not much, just a little bit, into the MX-5. So we've upped the brake horsepower standard. Well, we've given it a small turbo, which has given it an extra 80 brake horsepower, but we've also given it the hybrid system as well. So that's now got another, on top of that extra 80 on the original MX-5 Cup car, 80 brake horsepower. It gives it another 50 brake horsepower boost for 10 seconds with the 2-second cool-off period as well. But also we've changed the tyres as well, so we've given it soft, medium and hard compound tyres, slightly different to these ones, but a little bit, the softs are going to last a little bit longer on the MX-5, so it gives us, actually, rather than really having a quali tyre and 2 race tyres possible, you're now going to have 3 race tyre combinations that you could possibly do. The other thing we've done, the standard MX-5 doesn't have an adjustable differential or adjustable brake bias. We've added that in as well. So really gives us the ability to make the car that already handled very, very well, a little bit more speed, a little bit more strategy in there as well. And also the MX-5 Championship is 50-50 with regards to sprint and endurance races. So it's sprint, enduro, sprint, enduro, sprint, enduro all the way through the championship. So really looking forward to that. And the MX-5 is a great car. Everybody loves driving it, but it's now a little bit of a handful.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm particularly looking forward to that. I've got a real soft spot for MX-5s. In fact, you might have to chain me into the commentary box to stop me jumping out on track, because it's a kind of racing I love.
And the man of your caliber could probably commentate and race at the same time.
Oh, steady on, Rich, steady on. No, really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun, Rich. If people out there are watching and they want to get involved, either with that championship or other things that is going on here at the VRRC, we're always interested in getting new people involved, aren't we? So how do they go about doing that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the easiest way to join us is to go through to the website, go to Sim Racing. It shows on there everything that we're doing at the moment, and there'll be a link there to join our Discord channel. Once you're in the Discord channel, one of the guys will say hello to you and just give you a welcome. And then there's lots of different things that you can do to get involved. We've got a fun championship on Sunday nights at the moment, which is the McLaren GT3 720S. We've got Time Attack going on at the moment in August, which is the Lotus 49 at Goodwood, which is proving quite a challenge for a lot of people. Unsurprisingly, Eric's at the top of the league table on that at the moment. But in September, we're swapping the Time Attack to do a Formula single-seater Time Attack, which is we start with the Formula 4, go to the Formula 3, Formula 2, and then we do 3 Formula 1 cars, the 1990s, the 2000s, and bang up to date with the latest 2022 car as well, all on different circuits, 2 weeks each car and track combo. Some cash prizes involved in that as well for people for the top 5, so really looking forward to that. And then 7th September we kick off with the next Wednesday night championship, MX5s.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Really looking forward to that, and I really must get myself involved in some of these other events going on as well, if I ever get some free time. Rich, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for all your hard work.
Can I just say thank you to all of the drivers for entering. Really appreciate you racing with us. We try and do things a little bit differently. We try and make it as real as possible, and I really appreciate the support from everybody, and obviously from everybody that's watching as well, all of the family and friends of people that have been watching. So thank you very much for your support. It's much appreciated, and hopefully you come back for the MX5.
Thank you very much, Rich. Right then, let's confirm, shall we, what the championship standings look like, because I think we can bring up the final championship table after what has been a thrilling season of racing here in the VRRC Touring Car Championship European Tour. And it is confirmed that Eric Axelsen is the champion by just over 30 points in the end, from Nicky Taylor second, Kyle Felvis third, and Josh Martin, as I said, moving up into fourth place there right at the end. But Jack, what strikes me when I look at this championship table is the amount of drivers often quite far down that order, looking at people like Andy Carroll and Paul Zanatachi, for example, even Jens Verhoeven only finished 13th, but they all had moments where actually they were competitive, and I think that's a really good sign of a healthy championship, that even if you're not up there, fighting for the outright title, you still, on your day, are capable of mixing it with the front runners.
I think that's crucial in motorsport, to keep it entertaining. It's crucial in any sport, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people's complaints over the last couple of years with, let's say, a championship like Formula 1 is the fact that realistically only 2 teams can win it, or 2 drivers can win it, whereas everybody likes an opportunity to see someone else do really well, which is why a lot of tin top series in real life and obviously on the sim are really popular, because they do allow a lot of people, these reverse grids, these ballast, the hybrid systems. It's based around trying to give people an opportunity to outperform themselves almost on some nights, or to take advantage of other drivers who may not be having such a brilliant night themselves. So there's loads of examples like that, but for me, one of the biggest ones, maybe recency bias, but is Paul Zanatachi tonight, and I think he epitomised it tonight in the fact that all of a sudden we couldn't keep our eyes off him, even though we hadn't really mentioned it for the previous 7 weeks.
No, exactly, and like you say, it proves that all of the hard work done here at the VRRC is working, and the handicap systems and the Success Ballast and all that sort of stuff, keeping things nice and tight, that is for sure. Yes, that is how the championship table looks then at the end of what has been a fantastic season over 8 weeks, and we're hoping to see most of these drivers back for our MX5 series in a few weeks' time, and you can also be out there on the grid with them. As Rich Hayden said, we're always looking to get new people involved here at the VRRC. Rich has sort of stolen your thunder a little bit here, Jack, by mentioning quite a lot of the things coming up here at VRRC, but we'll have one last reminder, shall we? Give you one last crack at reading through your script of all the exciting events that you can get involved in here at the VRRC.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only did he steal his thunder, he didn't thank us on the broadcast. Me, you, and Lewis here. It's I'll let it go. I'll let it go, Rich. I'll turn up for the next championship if you'll let me, if you'll hire me even. But yeah, so what's going on? Rich has already gone through quite a lot of it with the leagues and the championships that are starting up soon on a set of course of the fun races and the time attacks. In fact, he did it in much more detail than I did as well. Anyway, so it's okay. iRacing special events and fun races will be starting to be put on as well. Hopefully, drivers can get involved, bring some new ideas, because we're always looking for very, very receptive to sort of new ideas and how we can break into the likes of iRacing and other sims. And of course, Dirt Rally 2.0, we have some monthly stages still going ahead, as we said before. If you want any way of getting involved in VRRC, then links are down in the description to the website and the Discord.
Indeed. Right then, I think that just about wraps everything up then here on the VRRC European Touring Car Championship European Tour. It's been a real pleasure having you all along for the ride. I know many of you have tuned in for every race, either supporting a certain driver or just tuning in for some good old-fashioned sim racing fun. And we hope to have you all back again supporting us in our next championship, which, as Rich Hayden starts on the 7th of September, the new MX5 series. But Jack, been a pleasure working with you as always. Looking forward to doing so again in the near future. Also a huge shout out to everyone else at the VRRC who helps put these events and broadcasts together. We really do appreciate all the hard work you do. For now, no time for a couple of well-deserved weeks off, and we'll be back in early September with our next Wednesday night championship. But for now, from Jack Oliphant and myself, Andy McEwan, it's goodbye.
Woo!